If it's happened to me, it's happened to dozens of people, maybe hundreds.
If you'd like to talk to us about your bill, a payment, or check your Talk Anywhere minutes, please press 1.
You currently use 0845 numbers, and obviously with the amount of time people spend on the phone and not being answered.
And to put the prices up in the winter, at the time of year that you use more gas and electric, is even more disgusting.
It was public knowledge that he earned more than £4 million at RBS the year before its collapse.
In Britain, the poor tend to merge into the background nowadays, but this group tried to take their grievances direct to the man who runs the country's finances, delivering a petition
We are
organised...
seeing record prices at the pump.
We have nobody that calls up OPEC.
Young drivers are paying a heavy price.
We have nobody that does that.
And I think it's not right that future students will have to pay extensive fees.
The last thing you'd need is to be charged £30 every time you go overdrawn.
The billionaires have gone up by 20. What a savage indictment!
But Lynn Thomas says she and her partner were bullied into rolling their debt and charges into a new loan.
Are large companies allowed to penalise those on low income in this way?
It seems the direct debit system isn't in some cases living up to expectations.
Tonight, the Treasury is to launch an independent inquiry into the way banks are run and the huge bonuses paid to staff.
Her bank HSBC in August last year to claim back £1,400 in bank charges.
Now BT has admitted that it secretly monitored customers' internet surfing activity.
They're all household names and they're all being sued. HSBC, Halifax Bank of Scotland, Barclays, Lloyds TSB, The Nationwide, Abbey, Clydesdale, Yorkshire Banks. And this is why.
I voluntarily paid for my pension and now they've denied it to me. And if those people came out here, they wouldn't like to be treated like we're treated.
Here, rail ticket prices go up by an average of more than 6% from today, with some commuters facing a rise of more than 10%.
Britain's biggest energy supplier, British Gas, has confirmed it's putting up prices from next month by about 7%.
British Gas has announced its prices are to rise by 7%.
Wholesale costs of fuel, the prices paid by energy companies, have fallen 50% since peaking in 2008. But only a 10% cut has been passed on to consumers, meaning families are still struggling, of course. The average gas bill is now currently £1,239 a year. And with bills at such a high level, the organisation Consumer Focus estimates that there are now more than 6 million people in fuel poverty. So how are householders?
Jim, the economic crisis is being felt all across the country and right here in Kansas City, and the stories are pouring in. Many of you struggling to make ends meet.
Food prices are going through the roof.
Gas prices are high, but the cost of food is going up too.
Hearing this evening, there is no denying that times are tough.
There's a 30% increase in the price of bread won't be reversed.
Families across the country are tightening their belts and making tough decisions.
But when you pay by direct debit, you give the company a lot of control over how much money they take and when they take it.
Companies shouldn't put pressure on consumers to take out.
Says it isn't working, and companies are taking far too long to sort out their mistakes.
BT have written to me to tell me that they're going to charge me an extra £18 a year unless I pay by direct debit. But they point out to me, it is not a penalty charge for not being on direct debit. Well, how is that?
It has never cost you so much to fill your car. Petrol prices have now officially hit an all-time high.
The government of Bolivia has increased fuel prices by more than 70% a year. Petrol prices are going up again.
I mean, look at what's going on with your gasoline prices. They're going to go to $5, $6, $7, and we don't have anybody in Washington that calls OPEC and says, fellas, it's time, it's over.
Shop around and you can still make savings, but the price of both petrol and diesel has risen so sharply that even thrifty motorists are beginning to feel the difference.
I used to work on £25, 25 litres. It came down, but it's just crept up.
and up and up, and every fortnight it goes up a couple of pennies more.
Well, I have to use my car, I have to get around in it, so I have to pay it, but no, I don't agree with it.
I don't really think there's an alternative because they don't provide sufficient public transport that actually takes you from where you actually need to be to where you need to be.
I don't think it's any different to what's happened over the last 2 years. Petrol just keeps rising. And there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel.
With the VAT as well, put the two together, it hurts, yeah. It makes you think before you drive.
I've only got 3 trucks on the road, and it's £1,000 a week, my fuel bill.
Hauliers say they'll go under unless they can share the load by passing on the cost to customers.
There will be hauliers that will be going bust, there'll be hauliers who will be shutting doors for the final time as a result of these
And the government hasn't finished taxing drivers. It's planning to put up fuel duty again in April.
"20-year-old Ryan Bird has stumped up a staggering £2,100 to insure a Ford Fiesta, which only cost him £700.
So now a woman under 22 is looking at an average of almost £1,700. For a man of the same age, it's another £1,000 on top of that.
Friends can't drive because of the price of insurance.
But for men between 17 and 22, it's almost £2,500, up 47%.
BT has again announced huge pre-tax profits of £1.7 billion for the past year.
Concerning HSBC and their profits, we were expecting their pre-tax profits, and we've just had them in £7 billion.
Record oil prices, record profits. Last October, BP was in the money.
Our big four banks announcing another great big profit.
It's a good day for Shell. The oil firm has reported record profits of nearly £14 billion.
For British Gas, which has just announced huge profits.
Now, Enpower has just announced massive profits of £429 million. How can you possibly justify these when people are struggling to pay their bills?
The rich are getting richer, while most ordinary working people will find the value of their pay packets squeezed.
I'm worried that there's going to be a real squeeze on living standards for millions of ordinary people over this coming period. And yet, despite that, the leaders of our major companies are still awarding themselves huge pay rises that are simply totally unjustifiable.
That's 18% of us struggle to put food on the table.
Every time Sharon boils a kettle or turns the heating on, the problem gets worse. The giant energy providers whose prices cause fuel poverty just speed the process up.
If you've got £10 to spend on each of your children, it buys you less food. It pays for less heating, makes it harder to keep the home warm. The bus fares get more expensive. Everything's getting more expensive, but you have no more money than before. So therefore, in absolute terms, you're becoming worse off.
Fuel poverty. It's defined as when you spend more than 10% of your income on simply keeping warm.
There's about 350,000 households in Wales currently classed as being in fuel poverty.
I'd say sort of like 80% of our income goes straight out again.
I do turn my heat off a lot. It's scary.
I'm really dreading the bill coming through. This should be due shortly. I'm really dreading it.
The ice cream van comes round. Then you, can I have an ice cream? No. You've even got to the stage of saying, I know, as soon as he hears the van, I know.
Oh, it's something, you know, everything's just doubling in price. It's so expensive. We're having to like double our budget in money, but then we're going into debt and we're getting debt letters through the door.
Fresh vegetables are a thing that I can't get hold of because my money doesn't stretch that far.
What can I afford to give them for tea?
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss. They're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt? Nope. Well, how about this one? Are you kidding? Well, how about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.